Hello, my name is Gregory Tompkins. Today is April 7th, 2019. This is the Anatomy and Physiology Axial Skeleton Project. Today we're going to be going over the anatomy of the skeleton. What we're going to do first is start with the anterior skull. I'm going to go ahead and what I'll do is bring them down for us a little bit here. So we're going to start with the skull. Anterior is the front side. So starting with the frontal bone here. There's an ethmoid bone in the eye socket here. The lacrimal bone is just inferior to that in the eye socket as well. The sphenoid bone is right here. The vomer bone right here. Then we have the mandible, the only movable bone in the skull. The maxilla, zygomatic, and also the nasal bone. Okay. So that's the anterior portion of the skull. Next we'll go to the posterior skull, which would be the back of the skull. And from here we can see the parietal bone. Parietal bone. The occipital bone. You can see the mandible bone from here. And also the temporal. Then we'll go get a lateral view. I'm going to do it actually this way here. So this will be your lateral view from the side. So again, the parietal. We have the occipital. And the temporal. From there we have the frontal, the ethmoid, also the lacrimal, which will just be superior of that, the maxilla, the mandible, the nasal. And we also have the zygomatic. That is the lateral portion of the skull. Okay, so next to me, an inferior skull. So this is going to be the floor of the cranial cavity. So we will turn this in the AP position here. So we're going to be starting with the frontal bone. From there we're going to go to the ethmoid bone. You'll see this ridge here. So the ethmoid. From there we have a sphenoid. The sphenoid is going to be in this section here. These ridges. And then we have the temporal. So the temporal is going to be this bigger portion back here. Temporal. The occipital. Occipital. And the parietal. Then we're going to go into a posterior view to see the vertebral column. Okay, the vertebral column starts with the cervical spine, so C1 to C7. C1 is also known as the atlas. C2 is the axis. Then we get the thoracic spine, which is connected to the ribs. So thoracic, we have 1 through 12. Then from the thoracic spine, we go to the lumbar spine, which is 1 through 5. Under the lumbar spine, we have the sacrum, and then the coccyx. And that's the vertebral column. Okay, anterior view. We're going to be focusing on the thoracic region, so the rib cage. So first we're going to locate the manubrium of the sternum, which is the top portion of the sternum here, this big portion here. Under that we will have the body of the sternum. Then we'll discuss the 3 types of ribs. So up here, this portion is here, so the top part you have these ribs. These are the true ribs that connect posteriorly to the spine, anteriorly to the sternum. Under that, we have false ribs, which connect posteriorly to the spine. Anteriorly, they connect to cartilage, what then connects to the sternum. And then under these false ribs, you have floating ribs, connect posteriorly to the thoracic spine and do not connect anteriorly. These are also known as false ribs as well. Next is going to be the pectoral girdle and the upper limbs. So the pectoral girdle and the upper limbs, we'll start with the scapula, which you can see from this anterior view. Shoulder blades back here. You can see one here as well. The scapula. We have the clavicle. Our humerus. And then in our lower forearm, we have our radius and the ulna. Okay. And this one we're going to discuss the wrist and hand. Okay. So starting in the wrist here, we have the lunate, the trichotrum, pisiform, the hamate, capitate, trapezium, trapezoid. Trapezium is up here. Then the scaphoid, which is the long bone here in the wrist. From there, we go into, well, in this one here, we also have a sesamoid bone, usually right here inside the thumb. We have the metacarpals and our phalanges. Next is going to be the pelvic girdle and the lower limbs. So we're going to discuss the ilium, the ischium, the pubic bone, the femur, we have the tibia, and the fibula. And last we have our patella. Alright, moving on to the ankle and foot. It'll be down in here. So we're going to start with the talus. Talus is this bone here, forms with the tibia and the fibula, form of the talus to make the ankle. From there you have the navicular. Navicular is right here. Then we have the medial cuneiform, the intermediate cuneiform, and the lateral cuneiform. Okay. Next to the lateral cuneiform, we have the cuboid, which is connected back here to the calcaneus. Here are the metatarsals and phalanges. Okay, and I believe that sums up the skeletal review today. Thank you for watching.